deep to left center field. Back it goes and gone. The 0-2 pitch. He struck him out swinging at 101. Swinging a drive, left field and deep. Back it goes and gone. And the Twins walk it off again.
It is Friday at 9:35, which means we visit with the voice of the Minnesota Twins on Bally Sports North, Cory Provus. His appearance is brought to us by Welton's Tire Service after a really impressive win. I got the sense when you wrapped the game last night, that was one of the more impressive victories of the season. I know Texas is 10 games under 500, but the way the Twins are beat up right now, that was, I thought, an impressive victory last night.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing of beauty. You know, it was not the cleanest game in the world. It wasn't the most exciting game in the world. There wasn't much action. And that's going to happen. You're going to have your games where, you know, there's going to be some contact here and there, but you might have to manufacture a bit more than you normally would like to. And down 2-0 early. And when Bailey gives up runs, and we mentioned this last night, Dom, that more times than not, and Rocco has said this as well, that, you know, it's the first 2 innings that get Bailey. And I think I have the number before last night, 50 earned runs total and 24 in the first 2 innings. And of his 18 home runs, 11 in the first 2 innings. So for Bailey, giving up some early offense is not abnormal. And then how does he respond? As long as it's not like a 5-spot or a 6-spot, he's going to keep his team in the game, which he has done just about every start this season. He has been more than consistent. He has been among the better starters going in the game right now. And so he was good again last night. It's now 10 straight quality starts. And I'm not my thought about that stat has evolved over time. I used to not think much of that stat, you know, 6 innings, 3 runs. What's to brag about a 4.5 ERA? That's not that great, but it keeps your team in the game. So if you extrapolate it from an individual stat to more of a team-based stat, then I'd buy into it. That if you get a starter that goes 6 and gives up 3 or less, you're in the game. And there's nothing wrong with that, and Bailey's been doing that now 10 straight starts.
The bullpen was rock solid down the stretch. I watched live the Kyle Farmer inside the park home run. Did he need oxygen when he got to the dugout after that run?
Yeah, he was pretty spent. He joined Audra post game last night, and he said he was pretty tired. He's still feeling it hours later. He said he was still having trouble kind of, you know, capturing his breath once again. So, you know, I called it an inside the park home run. It wasn't. It was a triple. It was a little league home run, but whatever. It was a triple and an error. But you know what? Fine. Yeah, I'll take some heat for that. Fine. But it was a great moment. And you know, I saw Tommy Watkins, their base coach, this morning, but I didn't get a chance to run it by him. But he was like, I mean, it's one thing for the third base coach to be waving a guy in. He was 80% down the line with them. I mean, he was right there with them. He was nowhere near that box at third base. So he was moving that arm and sending, and it was a cool moment. So Farmer's had some, you know, it's been a tough year for him physically, you know, from a production standpoint, certainly. But these last few days have certainly been a highlight for him, with his first home run, getting the silent treatment on Tuesday, and now the Little League home run last night. So some good moments for a guy that's really popular in that clubhouse.
Cory, to win 3 of 4, they're banged up, which I'll get to in a minute. How impressed have you been with this week? They took 2 of 3 from Kansas City to take this one, knowing what's to come with San Diego at the back end of this road trip. What have you made so far of how they've played this week with who's not on the lineup?
Hang in there. Yeah, I mean, just hang in there here a little bit. And, you know, is there still a chance to catch Cleveland? Yes. I mean, Cleveland starts a tough road trip tonight. They go Milwaukee, and then I believe New York. I believe they go Brewers, Yankees on the road. And the Brewers are fantastic. That's a really good team, especially at Miller Park. So that's going to be a tough series beginning here tonight. And for the Twins, it's about, and I think we talked about this earlier in the year, you know, Dom, when the team got off to a bad start, and Kansas City was playing well and Cleveland was playing well, and just kind of treading water a little bit until they got, you know, some key guys back. And at that point, we were talking about Joan Duran. We were talking about Caleb Thielbar, Royce Lewis. Of course, that was kind of the message that I was sending way back when. And I think it's fair to bring that back right now, because they're just down key guys. And, you know, Buxton and Correa being down at the same time, that's not ideal. Royce, I'm sure he'll play tonight. It wouldn't shock me if he gets a day tomorrow, though, because they're still trying to manage his workload a little bit. But with a lefty and Andrew Heaney going tonight, I hope he's playing and then maybe sits against Nathan Eovaldi tomorrow. But the Joe Ryan injury is massive. That's a big, big blow. So it's magnified even more right now with how important the Pablo Bailey starts are, because you're relying on youth. You're relying on somewhat inexperience and guys pushing innings limits that they've not tested before. And that's going to be a big topic of discussion these last 6 weeks.
I know, Cory, there was a report out yesterday that Ryan was going to seek a second opinion. I don't know if that's going to change what the initial forecast was, which right now looks like he'd be likely done for the season, correct?
That's my read. Yeah, I think he was going to see Dr. Neil Elatrosh out in Southern California. He does some work with the Angels, and he's a guy that players go to all the time. And the Twins encourage as many opinions. It's not like they look at it being like, hey, you don't trust our medical staff. This is something that by all means, let's seek every available option here. And yeah, that's how I'm reading it, that I'd be surprised if we see him pitch again this year just because of the calendar, Dom, where we're at.
Yep.
And Joe Ryan's not coming back to pitch in the bullpen. That's not going to happen.
No.
So I just don't know how it works out from a timing standpoint that he does come back and can make some meaningful starts. I mean, is it worthwhile to rush him back so he can pitch 3 innings, 4 innings? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so. That's why, again, not fortifying the rotation, it doesn't look good right now, both in the offseason and certainly at the trade deadline.
Now, you pointed this out watching the game on Monday, and that's why you're awesome at your job. But Buxton, I went back and I was watching the replay of the game this morning when Buxton was up for that at bat in the 5th inning, and I think it was the first pitch he fouled off, and you could tell there was a little twitch right after, Cory, right in his hip area. He fouled off another pitch, and then he struck out. We have the video of that 2 pitches later, and then your cameras caught it. He kept his bat in his hand. He went right down the clubhouse steps and dugout steps. I'm watching. That was a red alert. That should have been for everybody what happened there.
So I appreciate the credit, but really credit goes to producer Craig Rothberg. He's the one that kind of got in my ear, and we were trying to dissect when it happened. So I just was the mouthpiece to it, but he was the one in the truck that really identified, we think this is kind of the at-bat, and maybe this is the swing. And we still haven't gotten confirmation. I don't even know yet.
Yeah.
And Buxton's not here. He's not on the road trip. If it all goes back to him crashing into the wall, I don't know if that's still connected. I'd be speaking out of turn there. But when he struck out that third at bat, and then you're right, helmet on, bat in his hand, and went right down the steps, that was bad.
Yeah.
There was something, and then we saw Rocco come out with his lineup card, and then you knew, okay, here comes Margot. Let's go back and try to piece it together. But to me, I didn't see the swing that second at bat, because the first at bat hit the ball in the screws. He hit the ball on a line to left field.
Yep.
The second at bat also wasn't bad. But I think, it was something in that second at bat where it just didn't look right. But then I think the certain sign that something was up was the image of him not putting his helmet away, his bat back in the rack, but just going immediately downstairs. That was clearly the sign that something wasn't right.
How much more should we make of this? I mean, initially it was day-to-day, and now it's injured list. Is it something to be more concerned about, in your opinion?
Well, he got a cortisone shot, so he was going to be down for a couple of days. And I think this was the right move, because they can't play short. You just can't. In this day and age, these games are too important. You can't play short. So I thought it was the right play to put him on the IL. And the Twins are in this run of seeing left-handed pitching, and they're going to see one again tonight in Andrew Heaney. So it kind of works against, okay, Eddie Julian is here, not going to start much right now. But I think it also helps kind of fortify the infield here a little bit. And that means that Austin Martin, outside of tonight, is going to be more. I think we'll see him more in the outfield for the time being than we will on the infield. I think Willie's your shortstop. That's where he's got to be until Brooks Lee comes back. So Willie's going to be there, and against a righty, Julian's going to be at second. Then it's going to be a combination of Martin and Margot in center field. Now, that's not ideal.
Nope.
The Twins, if you look at where they rank position by position, defensively, they're near the bottom in terms of left field defense. It's just, the nature of the team right now. And the Band-Aid was that Byron in center and Kepler in right. You can get by there a little bit, but now left field is still bad and center field looks bad. And this is a fly ball staff, Dom. This is not a ground ball staff. We had this note during the last homestand that the Twins staff, both starters, bullpen combined, tie up for the lowest ground ball rate with Tampa Bay of any staff in baseball. So that's another little warning sign to keep an eye on here as we play this out until Byron comes back, that this is not great offensively, but also hurts them in a big way defensively.
Real quick before we go to break, I think Audra reported pregame that Carlos Correa has started full baseball activities, which included running. How good of a sign is that we may see him sooner than later?
Good news. I hope that next week he's starting to rehab with the Saints. And you may have, I don't have the Saints schedule pulled up right now. Maybe you do. If the Saints are back home next week, then that would be, I think, the window where, okay, this weekend he's ramping up baseball activity. He starts, seeing some pitching in, at Target Field. Great. And then hopefully next week, he gets the green light to start playing in some games. And then this lengthy homestand coming up, he does come back. I get the sense that this is never going to be 100% the rest of the year. He's going to have to play through discomfort and through pain. Now, I think we were spoiled with how well he was playing. He was looking like one of the better all-around players in the game. The first half of the season was playing at such a high level, and we might have to reset those expectations a little bit here the rest of the way. But just to get him out there, he's probably not going to play, 7 straight games. It may have to be 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, and then see how it goes. But, an 80%, 75% Correa is better than nothing. And so that to me is the next step. And we'll try to get some more clarity as the series here in Texas plays out, as his workload picks up. And then hopefully we get the green light and the word that Correa will start a rehab next week.
They are home. The Saints are at home next week against Scranton Wilkes-Barre, so they got a chance there to play at CHS Field. We'll break. We come back. We'll talk about Zebby Matthews' debut, about another Twin making his first Major League start, and what's to come on this road trip with Cory Provus joining us in Texas. We're back after this. Back here on Hot Mic, wrapping up our first hour. Cory Provus joining us from Dallas, Arlington. What? The ballpark is it still in Arlington? The new one?
It's in Arlington.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Arlington. Yeah. It's Globe Life Field.
Yeah.
And the old ballpark, Globe Life Ballpark, I believe, or Globe Life Park is adjacent to it. That's still up. And I think that's still used for, I think there's some professional football team.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's XFL, USL. I don't know what league it is, but there's a football team that plays there. They still have, I think, some showcase baseball games, but it's still upright. Yeah, you can see it out beyond the windows in left field.
So this is the newest stadium. It had the All-Star game. I'm always curious about this as a broadcast nerd. How is it for the TV guys? How is it for you?
It's not ideal. I mean, we're up high and we're far back, so it's not a great vantage point.
Yeah.
This is one of those ballparks where you have to. Normally, I'm on the field and the monitor, but here I'm really on the monitor because it's so high.
Yeah.
But the ballpark is beautiful. It really is. I mean, this is one to see. When the Twins come here, I think it's a really nice ballpark. I think they did a great job building it. It seems very fan friendly, wide concourses, indoors, air conditioning. I think there is a roof, of course. I think it's only been open like 3 times this year. In the postseason last year, I was surprised it wasn't open one time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was because of weather or because of sound. I was surprised. Like that time of year, I would think, okay, open it up. And because last year when the Twins played the Astros, that thing was open for one of the games. I think Minute Maid is a great ballpark when it's open. And I'm sure that coming down here when it's open is really neat too, but it just so rarely happens. But I think it's a really neat park. It's not great from where I sit, but that's not for everybody, and that's okay.
I know you don't spend a ton of time on the Rangers. Give me your overarching view on them. Why the struggles for them after the World Series championship a year ago?
I mean, they've had injuries. I mean, a starting staff that's been decimated by injury. I mean, Max Scherzer hasn't pitched. I mean, Jacob deGrom's coming back from Tommy John. John Gray is hurt. Nathan Eovaldi's had his injuries this season. Looks like he will face the Twins, though, tomorrow. So they've been banged up. But Adolis Garcia, whom the Twins always have a hard time, keeping off the base paths and really in the ballpark, his numbers are down. Jonah Heim's numbers are down. This was a team that led the world in runs scored last year. They're on pace to score about 200 fewer runs than they did last year. So the offensive regression, I think that's been the most surprising. The only Marcus Semion's numbers are down from last year. The only Texas player that is exceeding what he did last year is Josh Smith, who played short, hit second last night. He's been great. But everybody else is either matching or is beneath what they did last year. So I think that's what it kind of boils down to, is injuries to their starting staff, some inconsistency with the bullpen, but mainly the regression in offense is the big reason why they probably won't make the playoffs.
Zebby Matthews made his major league debut, rocketing through the minor leagues from single A all the way to the majors. 5 innings, got a win. He's going to get another turn in the rotation. Corey, give us the lowdown on how meteoric this rise was, up the minor leagues.
I hope that at the end of the game the other night when we showed Zebby, in the high five line and after his first big league win, I mentioned, Matthews, time to eat, drink, and be merry. I hope the Dave Matthews Band, fans out there picked up on that, because I still might weave those in there a little bit the more we see, Zebby. And if I drop in some Matthews, I might throw in some DMB song titles and some lyrics the rest of the way. But his story is fascinating. And it's not too long ago that we saw something comparable with Randy Dobnak in 2019. Yeah. He began in Fort Myers and reached the big leagues that same season. And now we see it here with Zebby. But this is a guy that was an 8th round pick. And the Twins, to their credit, and this is something that we have fought for a long time, and I think the criticism was fair, they've had the hardest time drafting and developing their own starting pitching.
Right.
I mean, go back as recent as 2023. The 5 starters that began 2023 all were acquired via trade.
Yeah. Yep.
They weren't homegrown. Now, Joe Ryan, you could argue, sort of was homegrown. He was acquired in a trade, but he was pretty far along in his minor league development. And then, give the Twins staff credit to really enhancing his skill set. And now he's just an elite frontline starter, which we've seen when healthy. But now with Bailey Ober pitching as well as he has gone, with Simeon Woods Richardson, who, yes, was acquired in a trade, but he was very young at the time, with David Festa, and now Zebby Matthews, hopefully that's starting to change, that the Twins aren't as reliant and always depending on free agency and trades to fortify their starting staff, that they can now take a Cleveland or Tampa Bay approach to it and be like, hey, we can compete because we do a good job with selecting and developing our own guys. So, Zebby is, a guy that walks 7 guys all year. I mean, impeccable command, velocity up about 3 miles an hour from the time he was drafted in 2022. He's got a big body. He's a big frame guy. And so he'll have, it was emotion. It was all the nerves in that first start. Now it's going to be enhanced even more because San Diego is hot, red hot as any team in baseball, and a good lineup. His first road start, it's going to be jumping there on Monday night at Petco, so I'm sure he's up for the challenge.
I want to ask you about them for fans that around here that don't see the Padres, don't follow the Padres, because why would they? They don't have Soto anymore, but they still have a dynamite lineup. This is a really good baseball team the Twins are going to see early next week.
Yeah, they're crushing the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody will know their leadoff hitter.
Yep.
I think we'll all see Luis Arraez, on plenty during the upcoming series. But, Manny Machado and David Peralta and Jackson Merrill, the rookie. And, I mean, they're clicking. Guys that you expect, but then the unsung guys, the veteran names, they're like, okay, this guy's maybe a fill-in here, and they're finding a way. And they're getting healthy, and now they're pushing, not just forget the wild card, the top of the NL West is tightening up here a little bit. The Dodgers, their sizable lead is gone. So with Arizona playing better, with San Diego playing better, the NL West is going to be a fascinating finish this season. There's no guarantee that the Dodgers, even with Ohtani and Mookie Betts now back, that they're the slam dunk favorite. Yes, they are the favorite, but they're not the lock anymore that they were maybe 2 months ago to win the West. That this is going to come down to some pivotal games here in September.
And they're doing it without Tatis as well. He's hurt right now for San Diego.
Yeah, he's hurt. But they have, their take on this is, and A.J. Preller, in a very Dave Dombrowski kind of view, farm system be damned.
Yep.
I am going to fortify this big league team, and we'll worry about our farm system. We'll worry about prospects and all that stuff later. That I am going to try and make my big league team win right now. This may hurt me in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and we'll deal with that then, both from a prospect standpoint, from a player standpoint, from a salary cap standpoint. But right now, we want to win, and I'm going to prove it to that big league roster that we're going to find some guys that can help our team right now and not care much about 25 and 26 and 27, that this is a good team. Let's go out and grab some guys, and we can afford for now a high payroll, and they're making a good run at it.
Stay cool down there. Appreciate the time as always. Have a great broadcast. We'll do this again next week, all right?
Thanks, Tom. See you, buddy.
Cory Provus from Arlington. Twins and Rangers coming up tonight, 7 o'clock on Bally Sports North. Game 2 of a 4-game set. Then it's on to San Diego and the Red Hot Padres early next week. We'll break. We come back. We'll start hour 2 with a look at how NDSU is going to change up football game days at the Dome this fall. Hour 2 on a Friday. We're back right after this.